Hello and welcome everyone. Today is a very, very important special session with Michael in Germany, and we have a special guest, Hector, in Utah joining us. And we're going to go deep into the script Michael has set forward on our new series. And I know that Hector is going to bring a lot of very important viewpoints from his life as well, because he has experience living in Mexico, living south of the States, and then he moved to the States. I think you were around 20 something, was it, or was it earlier, Hector? I forget now.
I said I moved to the States when I was 24 years of age, and I'm
Excellent.
40, almost 48.
Wow. So half your life in Mexico and half your life in the States. And you have some insights that are very, I would say, important to the script that Michael's put together, because now we are in South America, and we had discussed the very beginnings of that, Michael, and really appreciate all the studies you've done, Michael, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so welcome Brett, welcome Hector, welcome everybody who's just joining the session. Yeah, we did Mexico last time, and I was just amused that I saw that the similarity between the Mexican flag and the Italian flag is quite apparent. Yeah. So what did I bring with me to the table? That is a quote of a book called The Young Turks in Opposition. Science is the religion of the elite, whereas religion is the science of the masses. Yeah, so that's what's all about. Science is the new and the old religion. Yeah, but our opposition, our opposer, our adversary, Satan, wants to deal and wants to use the so-called science, or science so-called, from the Bible against us. That he wants to draw people away from the Bible, and so away from the word of the real creator God, not a demiurge or not any other belief system, but the biblical creator God. To blind somebody with science, once again, to have a smooth introduction into the session. It is session 14 already on Geo-Logy, estimated to be 40 in summation at least. Its meaning is to blind someone with science, meaning is confused by the use of big words or complex explanations. It must be so complicated that the general John Doe does not get it. And this is quite obvious to 2 Corinthians 4:4, isn't it, Brett and Hector?
Yes, it is. 2 Corinthians 4:4 reads, "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them."
Yeah, this is blinding somebody with science, and I think that's one of the best strategies, especially for so-called civilized or maybe also studied people. This is science. And once again, this is a little bit of an homage to Thomas Dolby. Thomas Dolby, driving in his video, "She Blinded Me with Science," with a motorcycle with the license plate of 407. Must be a coincidence then, huh? 4 plus 7 means 11.
11, yes.
Thomas Dolby performs at the Masonic Temple. Must be a coincidence, maybe. I do not know, and I don't care, actually.
Oh, yes. You know, that's interesting you mentioned that, Michael, because this friend of mine that lived in California, he's living in New Mexico now, he was talking about some performance he had went to, in the last few years at a Masonic temple, and talking about, how nice the temple is. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just saying, you see, that I just looked at the video and I found this appearance there, and I thought, okay, then maybe 11 is quite fitting number then. Okay, so this is "She Blinded Me with Science." What does he say? He says that she blinded me with science. Who's she then? She blinded me with science and failed me in biology. So it has something to do with a study in school. Who's she? Who could she be? Any guess? Who she is?
The Scarlet Woman?
Yeah, bingo.
Revelation 17:3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and decked in gold with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication.
If you compare these both verses of Revelation 17, what really hits me is that there is not only a scarlet woman, but a scarlet beast. So that at least means that the color scarlet, which in my humble opinion has much attribution to blood, or to the color of blood actually, yeah, this has a significant meaning. But as we are not in a school here, but as a psychotherapist or what, Mr. Dolby, I found it really interesting that he was just choosing a red dress for that woman. And we will see that that woman has much to do with the session, which is just going down to South America quite soon, meaning in the next minutes. At least that was my initial plan. I do not know what Microsoft has against it, as usual. But interesting, that a scarlet woman also is the center of attention in the video of Thomas Dolby, which by any coincidence is having a performance in a Masonic temple. So then he goes on to say, or to sing actually, I can smell the chemicals. So Thomas Dolby is just dancing with somebody who's just portraying like musical instruments. Do we know this? For example, from Kate Bush video called Babushka 1980, where she said that, yeah, the big acoustic bass that she was been dancing with, this represents a male partner. And I said, oh yeah, and Thomas Dolby has a few years later the same idea. Interesting. But what does he say? He say that his science that he is just been blinded with is not only biology and she hit me with chemicals or something with chemicals, but also geometry. And I said, oh, that is interesting because that's extremely close, I think, Brett and Hector, to Geo-Logy. So this is my small excerpt of Thomas Dolby. Science. And maybe science has something to do with the telescope. Who knows? So that must be astronomy then, I guess. Although he's just looking it from the other way, or from the different perspective. He's looking to the ground, which of course is funny in that video, but don't fool me. So we got biology, chemistry, geometry, and technology. Aha! So everything is combined. And in the end, you can create some, what else? Digital personality, or what else? Artificial, so-called intelligence. He's just making reference to Sakamoto, Miss Sakamoto, which is extremely interesting because later on we will experience that there's a musician called Mr. Sakamoto, which came into my mind. Once again, this is the second part of Latin America when it comes down to geology, session 14. So far, I'm just a little bit glad of my improvement in English, but I just have to pick my words very carefully because there are so many phrases and words that I can't use because I'm not used to them, not familiar with it. So when I thought initially about going into geology, I thought, okay, which is the most underrepresented continent that nobody has heard of or is just not hearing anything because everybody is just so focused and distracted about United States of America, Europe, Ukraine, Russia, war, and China, Asia. So I think that South America, when it comes down to the sheer amount of news, is not represented enough. So that must be, well, could be a reason. And of course, it's called Latin America for a reason. Latin America, these are all the countries who are now using languages which derived upon Roman languages. So Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and all the stuff. Portuguese, for example, Brazil. Spanish, for example, Mexico. Or what I would like to point out, Mexico. I do not know. Hector, is that correct to say Mexico, or is it pronounced Mexico in your native language?
Mexico.
So I'm really more close to the truth. Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Latin America, these are predominant languages in Americas by which Romance language and English-speaking cultures are distinguished. So we have left out 2 countries on purpose, or some countries on purpose, actually, I think it was 3, and we will do this step by step. The next one is coming up is Paraguay. Paraguay. Wikipedia tells you officially it's the Republic of Paraguay. It's bordered by Argentina to the south and Brazil and Bolivia. And the largest city of it is Asunción. I said, it's Latin America for a reason, huh? So, the Spanish conquistadors, or the destroyers, or what else, they were just heading or coming down in the 16th century. And during the 17th century, Paraguay was the center of Jesuit missions where the native Guarani people were converted to Christianity, so another fault of Wikipedia, that must be Catholicism, and introduced to the European culture. After the expulsion of the Jesuits from Spanish territories in 1767, so below cover as cover and quite close to the American Revolution and the French Revolution, not American Revolution, to the American founding of the country, 1776, that was come on, Brad, is a Declaration of Independence, is it correctly?
Fully correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. And Paraguay increasingly became a peripheral colony. And you can throw all this out of the window because we will go down to much more interesting stuff. The name Paraguay stems from the Guarani, so the native language of the Paraguayan inhabitants, and means feather crown and water. Feather crown of waters. That's really interesting because Paraguay, as far as I remember, is just not only, it's not having a coastline. Why do they have water in it and a feather crown? I think that that will be much more clear in the future sessions. Wikipedia tells you, and you have to believe it, that the first Europeans in the area were Spanish explorers in 1516. An attempt to create an autonomous, Catholic, once again, Indian nation was undertaken by Jesuit missions and settlements in this part of South America in the 18th century. They developed Jesuit reductions to bring Guarani populations together at Spanish missions and protect them from virtual slavery by Spanish settlers and Portuguese slave raiders, in addition to seeking their conversion to Catholicism. This Wikipedia, so they make it deliberately incorrect. And it's really interesting because now comes a big one, which is just hidden in plain sight in the Wikipedia text, quote unquote, the syncretic religion has absorbed native elements. Yeah, because both of them, so Roman Catholicism as their pagan native original beliefs, they of course are worshipping nature or the sun on that regard. And we will see why, and we will see why it's that important soon. But this is official Wikipedia. That's it, actually. My alternative site, which is of course also against God, but it's just more Gnostic website, but it reveals much interesting facts, says that there is communism in Paraguay. Communism, says this website, All Religions Are One, is a fake anti-establishment movement doctrine invented by the Jesuits, where slaves are not allowed to have private property or have little or no rights in a one-party dictatorship. And this is all just planned by the Jesuits, and the first colony or the first try attempt they had was in the 18th century in Paraguay, in a country which plays not an important role in the entire world, which is not known to the general European citizen. They said, oh yeah, that's somewhere down below, but it has not been in the view of the general public. And I thought to myself, sure, they made the first attempt in Paraguay, and later on they tried the same thing, or they did the same thing, in Russia and China. So everywhere, I have to assume, because when they are the inventors of communism, everywhere where communism is the major socially accepted standard or politics, then there is the Jesuits or the Roman Catholic Church behind it. So China is just a big theater, because you see that the communism has been invented by the Jesuits, and so therefore you know who's ruling China, as if we didn't know. As if we didn't know that the Jesuits training these Karl Marx and Joseph Stalin and all these people, they were all trained by the Jesuits. And the first thing that comes up in the history of communism is 1600s at least, the Jesuits create a communist society in Paraguay owned by Catholic Spain. Sure, Spain was Catholic to the core. Spain, of course, also has much to do with Mexico. And 30 Jesuit missions in Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay became self-sufficient colonies with 100 original inhabitants. It's called Guarani, with only 2 priests per mission. They work as a fifth column through infiltration, blackmail through confessional secrets. Yeah, that's what they used to do at all these monarchies within Europe also. They knew all the secrets. A fifth column is in any group of people who undermine a larger group or nation from within, so the enemy within, usually in favor of an enemy group or another nation. Let's say the papacy, because you see that the Jesuits were the army or are the army of the Roman Catholic Church. So that means that they have sent out the missionaries, the Jesuits, to South America, and they were extremely successful in these 3 countries called Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. So in communism, usually no private property is allowed. Everything is state property. All proceeds go to the Jesuits. This is a total violation of the last of the 10 commandments, which is in Exodus 20, verse 17.
The verse reads, Exodus, you said?
Exodus 20, 17.
Reads, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's."
Which means it's a total opposition to communism. Which means that the Lord God allows property, because you see the neighbor's house, it's not the state house, it's the neighbor's house, it's the neighbor's wife, it's the ox, the ass, animal, property, what else? It is just a violation of the 10 commandments, this communism thing, and most people don't get it because they don't read the Bible and they don't understand this very, very important item. The Lord allows that you have property. Think of the book of Job, how wealthy Job was. So the profits of the South American colonies start to anger the slave traders who exploit the African colonies and the Jesuit mission in Paraguay, and is then temporarily abolished. And it has, of course, political dimensions here. But yeah, you see, they're all in for the mammon, of course. So when you follow the path of communism, then of course, you have all these people who are just being portrayed by the mass media, general public, as being independent thinkers or so, like Karl Marx. But Karl Marx has something to do with Mars, which is a Roman god of war, and Karl Schapper, which is the son of a Catholic priest, and it goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, so you can assume at least that the Communist Manifesto has not been written by Marx and Engels, but maybe has been supervised by any other people who have invented communism in the first place. Who could that be? We know that this is a method or an education, a social education for the masses, that everybody is equal and has equal rights, and just the state just dividing property equally to everybody and all the fairy tales. It is just an intervention of the Roman Catholic Church to get rid of property. And property, or the so-called middle class, the self-employment, this is just a gain or a result of Protestantism. And in all these Catholic countries, usually they are very poor. The people are very poor. Because it is just the fact that the Roman Catholic Church only allows property which is their own, but they don't allow any. You see, there are social encyclicals, Rerum Novarum, and all the stuff, yeah, which are just condemning any so-called democracy and all the traits and all the stuff, because the papacy says, okay, we are here in the seat of God, we are just here the vicarius filii Dei, and we are infallible and all the alike, and so therefore we are just decide who is just getting which. Yeah, and this has just been done in 1493, inter cartera, if I remember correctly, that the Pope has divided the land after officially Christopher Columbus has officially, at least, not really, but officially discovered America. Yeah, and so the Pope just ruled and was dividing the entire world between the Spanish conquerors and the Portuguese.
Say, Michael, could you slow that down for me? I didn't get that. You said what?
Inter Cartera. We have talked about this. Is Inter Cartera from the Pope?
A bull, or is it an encyclical? What is it?
That's a bull, actually. Inter Cartera by Pope Alexander VI, 1 year after Christopher Columbus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that he was just dividing after he officially has discovered North and South America, which has been deliberately done by the Spanish Queen. Yeah, because the Spanish Queen, of course, was Catholic to the core. I think we have a picture in this somewhere. Yeah, what they did is they took a certain longitude, and the left of it was, I think it was for Spain, and right of it was for Portugal. Yeah, Inter Cartera, the scope on history, excerpt, papal bull, Inter Cartera. Yeah, he took just longitude here, and 46 it is here, and yeah, you can read it. I don't have it in my short-term memory.
Thanks, Michael. No, the only reason I wanted to elaborate on that is because it's so close to Inter Mirifica that if you don't slow it down, it almost sounds like
I see. Okay,
Inter Mirifica to me.
No. Okay.
And I just wanted to be clear about that for our listeners, and for my sake too, for that matter, because hey, I have a lot to learn too. I'm not, all Mr. Knowledge here.
No, me too. I'm just also learning here. Demarcation line between Spanish and Portuguese possessions. Yeah.
Oh.
So the Pope is not only the spiritual leader, but he just divides the earth and says, okay, this is for you and this is for you. And in the end, of course...
What year again, Michael?
1493, so 1 year after Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Wow.
Yeah, and now think of the consequences. The consequences is that there were just an army of ships sailing to South America, robbing all of the property, because you see that, and all the gold and medals and coins and what else, and maybe also slaves, but to just ship it back to Spain and Portugal. And what do? Of course, they have to give their share to the papacy. Most likely, you see that Rome wasn't built in a day, and the St. Peter's Cathedral, you can look it up when it has been built. So there are many, many people who must have...
Yes, you're absolutely right, Michael. It was right at that time, just after that time.
Although Peter was never in Rome.
Hector, you wanted to say something?
Yes. That was called the Treaty of Tordesillas, and the Spanish-speaking people that I just listened to this is exactly what you were saying, the division between the Spanish conquerors and the Portuguese conquerors, which were the two main powers at the time of this Pope. And this is very important. I was thinking about what you were saying, and it just so many things came to my mind. But just go ahead.
Yeah, please compare the timeline here. The construction of the present St. Peter's Basilica has been begun on 1506. So after Inter Cartera, after the papal bull, 13 years later, and has been completed on 666 November 1626. So they have close to 100 years. They have built more than 120 years for that cathedral. But you see that ships were coming in and money was rushing in. It was not only the indulgences what financed this precious building. It was blood money. It was the possession of the indigene, of the original people of South America also, among other things, of course. But you see that it's so close to the timeline. Yeah. So, and this is just Hegelian dialectics. You see that you control both sides. Yeah. Capitalism on the one hand and communism on the other hand, which means that the richer get more rich and the poorer get more poorer. For the poorer, you have the doctrine of socialism, which in the end leads to communism. And for the rich, for the elite, you have capitalism. And you see, you have the identical symbols for fascism and communism. And fascism is just a corporate state who runs all the factories and just orders everybody what to do. So you can guess that in any other country where communism is the primary goal or has been established, you can imagine that it has been controlled by Roman Catholic, at least from some elite who has ties to the clergies. Yeah, and all these people, they're not only Freemasons here with their gesture, but they, of course, have been trained by several people. At least I know that from Marx and Stalin, and I would have to look it up, but I don't think that I have to do it, because these Freemasons also have been controlled by the Roman Catholic Church. It's always the same, yeah? You see that this is the same symbolism. You choose another piece of any symbolism, of Saturn, yeah, and you come out with the symbol of communism, or you come out with the symbol of the Soviet Union. It's always the same. It's always the same. We got the same problem here in Germany. There are so-called cultural cultural Marxism from the Frankfurt School. You see, they do that in every country, and they say, okay, that is equality, and this is equal rights for everybody. Everybody has the right to be treated equal, and everybody has the right to have the equal property and all the stuff. And the young people, you see that they find that so much fitting to their idea of an ideal world, and that's why they get the people. It's always the same. You see that they are everywhere, actually. They had all that time on their hands. You see that they are just... in 2040, the Jesuit order will have 500 years celebration since its origin. 500 years. They got so much time and so much money on their hands. And they got so much communism everywhere. People's Bank of China is the biggest bank in the world. Communism through theories about Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. It's everywhere, actually. Yeah, but back to Paraguay then. So Paraguay has dictatorship. Officially, they are, until this very day, of course, they are democratic. And I'm not going into the superficial stuff of Wikipedia. It's hard to comprehend how many people have lost their lives and properties and what else, and beloved ones in all these South American countries, actually. So this is just Wikipedia. That's why I talked to Brett last time, and I said, look, when you know there are two tropics where the sun has been, in the biblical way, encircling the earth. You got a tropic of Cancer, which is during the summertime, so just more 0 degrees. Cancer would be the 20 or 21st or 22nd of June. I would have to look it up. And you got the Tropic of Capricorn, which is, of course, the opposition. So it is just 21, 22 of December when it is winter in the northern hemisphere. Then it is automatically summer in the southern hemisphere, which means that the sun is always, sun always shines on TV, not only on TV, but on the equator, which means 0 degree latitude. And that's why I told to Brett last time, when they are doing something, why aren't they doing something significantly on the equator? Because if there are sun worshippers in the Roman Catholic Church, as well as the Jesuits with their black sun, then it would be very interesting to concentrate on all the countries who are just in these so-called tropics. And these tropics are being named after the Tropic of Capricorn. So after the encircling of the sun, in German we say die Bahn der Sonne, so the direction of the sun here on this earth, be it circular, be it flat, be it anywhere, I don't know, I don't care. I know these are two tropics, which are interesting because they, of course, are 23 degrees, 27 minutes, which is close to 23 minutes and 30 seconds, which would then be subtracted from 19, would then be 66.5 or 666. And that's the same with the Arctic Circle here on top and this Antarctic Circle on the bottom for 66 degrees. So you got the 66 everywhere. You got the 66 on top and you got the 66 when you subtract these 23.5 degree from 90 degree. And so therefore I thought that geology is such a fascinating matter. So you have to believe that this equator with 0 degrees is just running through South America, Africa, and to some countries in Far East Asia, or let's say Indonesia, Malaysia, and what else there is. I'm sorry, there is. I'm not a native English speaker. I'm learning. The interesting city of Paraguay is Concepcion. Could anybody guess what it means in English? Not all at once.
I would say, I was going to say conception,
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, conception means...
it almost sounds like conception, concepcion.
The baby.
Oh, sorry, Hector. You were breaking up really bad. You said having a baby?
Yes, it's something related to
conceiving.
the process of having a baby. Conceiving, yes.
So why would they name a city Concepcion? Has something to do, said etymology online, act of conceiving in the womb. So originally of pregnancy. Also with reference of Conception Day in the church calendar. So that must be a city which has something to do with the church who is just venerating the womb or fertility or pregnancy. Who could that be in South America? I wonder myself. And I think that the answer is quite obvious and the question is quite rhetoric. So we are coming later to the religion in Paraguay, and I think that is by no means a surprise. The economy, for many years, the country's image was associated with illicit trade in electronic products, weapons, and drugs. Wow. That's not a compliment then. Pesticides and other chemicals are used heavily in soybean fields. The country's environmental standards are not met by companies and agrochemical contaminate the environment. In 2019, so that was the year when there was the outbreak of the so-called corona pandemic, the United Nations Human Rights Committee issued a ruling urging Paraguay to undertake an investigation into the massive fumigation of agrochemicals and the poisoning of the population. I have not heard about it in the mass media, have you?
Never.
And this is Wikipedia. The high level of political corruption and the extreme fragility of institutions, etc., 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 etc. My, I thought to myself, that is really a poor country. They are just really poor people there. When even Wikipedia is admitting that they are poisoning the population in Paraguay. My. Paraguay, most important urban areas are located along the Argentina-Paraguay border. Asunción, so Ascension, or you see that, and etc. And Ciudad del Este, the latter being the third most important free commercial zone in the world, only trailing behind Miami and Hong Kong. I said, So they are making money there, but on the same time they are just poisoning the population. Interesting, huh? You got the same problem there. You see that it's just a poor country and somebody is just laughing his peep off and is just making money and is just dictating the stuff, and the poor inhabitants, the poor civilians, they have to suffer with poisoned food and all the stuff. My, what a world. So, all of Paraguay's electricity is generated by hydropower, making it one of the cleanest in the world. That could also be a kind of a role model for the world. What would you say? Hector?
Oh, Michael, what I want to say is the word Asunción. It means when someone rises from the dead, like Jesus Christ did.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, it's really interesting that you see that these cities have a certain religious context in their name. I thought that also Paraguay, when we know that the Jesuits had their missions there, or have their missions there, actually their restricciones, you can see that they are just testing there something. Yeah, maybe they are testing how to poison the population. Maybe they are testing how it will work out with the hydropower and all the stuff. Yeah, so I see Paraguay as a test field for so-called global projects. That's my view of it. Don't know if you would agree on that. They have much more immigrants than usual, of course. They are coming from every country, and especially also Paraguay is one of the countries in South America being infamous for that many German Nazis or criminals have been immigrated there by the help of the so-called red lines from the Vatican, I don't think that somebody has to wonder about this. So, comes down to religion in Paraguay, concepción, so has something to do with somebody who's giving birth. The religion is not Christianity, but Catholicism. According to the 2002 census, 89.9% of the population was Catholic. Can you imagine, is there a more Catholic land except the Vatican than Paraguay? 90% Catholic? My. So that's Paraguay. The Lost Paradise somebody has written a book, The Lost Paradise, the Jesuits' Republic in South America. The Lost Paradise. Was never intended to be such a paradise, I think. So let's just skip it all. But the real history behind Paraguay is not that it's a democratic country which is just this and that, but it's just founded in 1811, declaring its independence from Spain, 7 million people, largest city, Asunción, so rising of a dead body. It is a member of the United Nations and a dictatorship ruled by the Jesuits. No wonder, I think. Yeah, so Catholic Church reached Paraguay. The Jesuits in 1609 learned to control wandering tribes of cannibals who worship the moon, so like I said, the sun and moon worship, or just worship the creation, and believe in the immortality of the soul. There we are at the Greek philosophers. The Jesuits developed a dictionary of the language of the Chiquitos, put the Indians in colonies, teach them agriculture and Catholicism, once again, and create social experience to develop communism. 30 Jesuit missions called reductions in Argentina, Brazil and Paraguay became self-sufficient colonies. Yeah. Any wonder that this country is very poor and that they are just having a dictatorship there. And of course, officially, they have, what was it, a republic, I think it was. And they had in 2013 they had the Jesuit-trained Horacio Cartes as a president and the Jesuit Mario Ferrero as candidate. And you do not want to know how many more of Jesuits. Speaking of, these two have something in common. Not only the mindset, but they are just coming from the same congregation. They're coming both from the Society of Jesus, so to speak, or SJ, or the Jesuits actually. And the white pope as well as the black pope are both coming, like I said last time, from South America. And that's why I would keep a very close eye to South America. Yeah, and also the first general of the Societas Jesu, he's then the first person of the Jesuit order as general born in Latin America to lead the Jesuits. So the army of the Roman Catholic Church, being the Jesuits, has been directed from a person or from a man who's coming out of South America. As well as Pope Francis, who came out of Buenos Aires, maybe that means good air in Argentina. And there is much, much, much to it. So, Ascensión, yes. Argentina, on the other hand, close to Paraguay, of course, there's a border between the two countries. Founded in 1818. Its capital and largest city is Buenos Aires, close to the 33-degree parallel, so latitude. It's a dictatorship, as well as Paraguay, ruled by the Jesuit or by the Catholic Church. Argentina means Argentinos of silver, the root to shine or white. So, and you can imagine that silver has something to do with money, at least in the Bible when it comes down to the 30 coins of silver. Yeah, Vatican, once again, means the mountain of prophecy or the hill of prophecy. And then get the two keys where my beloved brother in Christ, this time Hector, has sent also interesting video, which we have talked about. I think it was 2 or 3 sessions ago. Me together with Brett Hector about I think it was Janus and Cybele, these two, this Roman mysticism stuff about the two keys. Yeah.
Yes, Cybele says they even have in Argentina they have an obelisk, and it's called the Cybele obelisk. Buenos Aires, where Buenos Aires, it's also I think it was named the capital city because it was called by a virgin that it was the lady of the air, of the good airs. I think it was back in the 1500s.
Yeah, we will come we will come to
these.
We will come to these ladies quite soon.
Hector and Michael, I just wanted a quick mention. Whenever you stumble across this topic of silver, I always think of Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 30, and the verses that lead up to that study into the time period, that 70 A.D. time period when the prophet Jeremiah was giving the prophecy of Jerusalem being destroyed. So it ties in the old covenant with the new covenant, with the sacrificial temple that they had in the old covenant, and then Christ being the new sacrifice in his blood. So the blood of Christ that's a very important part of Scripture that's been taken out of the newer versions. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
What was it? Chapter, verse? Do you have something?
Yeah, it's chapter 6, verses, I'd say 27 through 30 are really important. And I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people, that thou mayest know and try their way. They are all grievous revolters, walking with slanders. They are brass and iron. They are all corrupters. The bellows are burned, the lead is consumed of the fire, and the founder melteth in vain, for the wicked are not plucked away. Reprobate silver shall men call them, because the Lord hath rejected them. And this is exactly how I look at the hierarchy.
Yeah, I could not find it at first glance because I'm not using the Blaney version. You see that then this search string does not work then, of course. But nonetheless, we know the chapter and the verse. Thanks for...
See, and that's the problem I have. Your Glissman was so, Blaney, blah, 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 blah. And gotta destroy the Blaney version. Well, when you destroy the Blaney version, you destroy your search terms too, buddy.
Yeah, that's really a mess. That's really a problem.
See, that's the problem here. You just don't slow down enough to really understand what you're doing. That's, yeah.
Yeah, you see, when I search tower and it is just been spelled the other way around, R-E instead of E-R, then I got no chance to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
see?
So,
Yeah, it's a real mess.
Yeah. So golden key and silver key. So the Inca Empire, they did sacrifice in volcanoes according to that script here. And the Jesuits, they were just not only doing this in Argentina and Paraguay, but also in Brazil. So that means that they worked together with the Portuguese as well. So in Argentina, they established universities in 1821. They had presidents even as early as 1890, 1896. They have Knight of Malta Juan Perón as president in 1946 after the Second World War. And interesting enough that all these, at least the majority of countries, except Italy of course, they had not big losses in the Second World War. Think of Spain, think of Portugal in Europe, and then on the other hand, think of all these South American countries. Yeah, Brazil, Argentina, they did not had any war in their country. So interesting, huh? That the entire Second World War mainly was just between Protestant countries and maybe Japan and all the stuff, but it was not happening in Catholic countries. Would you like to read it?
Oh, sure. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all of them that dwell in the land.
Yeah, Jesuits everywhere, especially in South America, no wonder. And there was also very interesting stuff that I never looked upon, and that was the so-called Falkland War between Argentina and United Kingdom in 1982.
Oh, yes.
I said, oh, interesting. And the website says, or just explains it as that war used to be to announce the Falcon Horus, or the Horus, the child of the Egyptian mysteries, with the so-called Iron Lady, Iron. We know iron, huh? Bruce Lee, Circle of Iron. Do you know what kind of the element of iron, which is attributed to which planet? Can you imagine?
Yeah, I think you were saying Mars?
Yeah, correct. And what did she do? They did war. Yeah, they had a war in the Falkland War. Huh? How fitting that they had then an Iron Lady, huh? How fitting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the Falkland Islands, they are just a minor island here of east of South America. And why have the British so much of an interest in the Falkland Islands? Yeah, well, you have to believe the official history, I guess. Falklands had nothing to do with Falcon officially, but with Falkland, people by the folks. But you do not have to believe them either. Yeah. What I found interesting, what I did not know, I have looked it up today, that Germany lost several battleships at the Falkland Islands in the First World War. I did not know that. But in the first half of the 20th century, so 1900-something, the Falklands served as an important role in Britain's territorial claims to sub-Arctic Island and a section of Antarctica. Why? You can assume that the Britain, United Kingdom, saw Falkland Islands as a kind of outpost to control the so-called Cap Horn, or the Southern Sea, for the ships sailing around South America. Yeah, so that was an outpost, Falkland, or is actually. That was very interesting because of one thing. I looked upon a Sherlock Holmes episode, because that's why my research at the moment is, because I discovered some interesting things there. And in one of the episodes, they are talking about the war, and the DSO, so what is it here, DSO? A British military decoration awarded to officers who have performed rituals or distinguished services in war.
Oh, meritorious. Remember what a meritorious work, a meritorious work. You remember the whole premise of the Counter-Reformation. You're doing a meritorious work when you kill a heretic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what they really mean.
Yeah, and that has been given over to brave soldiers during the Falkland War, and now it is very interesting
Oh, gee.
because you can't imagine where I have found that quote of. That was the actor who played Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett, who went close to be insane. And he was the son of a Lieutenant Colonel Henry William Higgins, DSO. So he came also from the army, and his mother was killed in a car crash. And that is a little bit strange, I think, huh?
Yes.
So, especially when you see on the one hand you got the Britons and on the other hand you got the Argentinians, yeah? The one has the sign of Anu and the other has the Jesuitical sun. Great, huh? And then you know that has nothing to do with Britain versus Argentina. There is something else to it. I don't know exactly what, but as I know that both countries are being controlled, at least in 1982 when that so-called war happened, then I guess that has something to do. And maybe that has something to do with Horus or with some ritual, but I don't buy the official explanation for one bit then. No, not for one bit. It happened at 11 p.m. on April the 1st, 82. April the 1st. April the 1st. Yeah, maybe a Fool's joke, huh? What is it? April Fool's Day, huh?
Right.
Sorry. Yeah, but I don't have
Didn't
to buy.
That have something to do with all of the confusion around the change of calendar? They were making fun of those that were not accepting the new Gregorian calendar, right?
Yeah.
Greg, whatever.
Yeah, you see that could have something to do with it. So back to Argentina then, because Argentina was one party in that so-called war. A war about that small island here. Come on, really. It's just... So they had also Jesuits as president, and in 2013 they had the Jesuit Jorge Bergoglio or Jeff Francis as a pope then. And this is a list of all the Jesuits who were then the president there, and I don't think that I have to read everything.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So this is the flag of Argentina. Any questions? Blue stands for religion, white stands for spirit, the sun is obvious, and these are the sun's rays of the Jesuit. What else to say? This is a country being controlled through the Jesuit order. And no wonder that the first Jesuit comes from Argentina. I think that is more than a hint that there is something to Argentina or something to South America in general, because you see that sun is just a big hint.
Oh, by the way, as long as you're on the topic of the flag now, doesn't that have something to do with the bishop, these bishoprics that we have throughout the world? There's different bishoprics. Don't they congregate to create these flags in this hierarchy?
I can't tell you the answer to that question because I have not looked it up.
Well, I've always been curious about this because ever since I've started studying this stuff, and I think there's got to be something to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I can't put my finger on it, of course, but it's a valid question, I think it has something to do with that.
At least it's a valid hypothesis. You see, somebody has to decide. And when you are just running a show, then, of course, the people who are running the show from behind, so the Jesuits, they will, of course, then have a congregation and they will set the rules and the flag and what else? You see, currencies and all the state affairs.
Yeah, that's right.
When it comes down to a Catholic country, then they won't ask the population, of course. Yeah, they will set the rules for themselves. Yeah, so the Pope with his infamous cross here, with the crossed arms. Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah. So there is much more rumor on the fact that Pope Francis has earned his merits also from strange circumstances here. Pope Francis, the murderer, something to do with Argentina's dirty war. But I don't want to go into this because it's not just part of any study here, but there is much controversy about this behavior here. And somebody in Prophecy Update, Pope Francis, Pastor Bill Hughes, we know him, I think. We know Bill Hughes. Yeah. So Bill Hughes, I don't know when that happened. I'm sorry, I don't know the date exactly, but he said God Pope Francis was God in Argentina. Of course, for all the Catholics, at least, he's the Vicarius Filii Dei.
I don't know if what I'm going to say has something to do with it, but the Argentinian people, they always brag about their Pope, and also because they have Leo Messi as the best player it's considered to be the best player of the world. It's called the GOAT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Several things come to my mind.
And what they're doing now is they are just pushing the solidarity movement, so to speak, but in just another certain way, not with the Pope and Lech Walesa of Poland, but one humanity, one family, etc. You see that when it all comes down to, they want to have communism all over the world. That's at least my guess when it comes down to one world government and to the beast system. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that reminds me, Michael, way back years ago when I first started studying the papacy and Roman Catholicism and all that, I had found a webpage that says, anyone that's been baptized in the church, the Pope claims his he claims anyone that's been baptized as their I forget how that works, claims them as a member
mm-hmm.
of the church. So it doesn't matter if you've been baptized in a Protestant church or a Baptist church or a Catholic church, as long as you're part of this infant baptism. Lutherans are big into this, by the way, because of Luther and, his views, supposedly his views, right? Because we don't really know for certain. You got to do your own research to figure out what Martin Luther's views exactly were, because they changed, obviously, over time. But anyway, supposedly, the whole infant baptism thing is taken very seriously by some congregations, including Lutherans, of course, and I was raised Lutheran. But it's interesting that, if you've been involved with that the Pope will claim you as part of his flock. So something to be very aware of for all of us, especially those of us that are going to have little children, and considering them what they're going to do with their church life.
Yeah, I think that has some kind of comedy content here. When you see that this message is warning of the Pope, he says that the devil is an elegant demon. It comes from Fox News on mit Phoenix. You see that it's just a comedy in itself. Huh? And that is the link, Brad.
Oh.
Yeah, and doesn't that remind you of, I think it was, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, the audience hall, Pope.
Yeah, sure. No,
Paul
I meant...
I
meant... Actually, I meant a Bible verse, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool, huh?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. And then the cherubim's on the left and the right, too.
Yeah, and look at, he's just elevated and all the stuff, usual stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Georgi. George comes maybe from the Greek name Georgios, from Latin Georgius, means the farmer or earth worker. Where do we know a farmer from?
Oh, interesting. Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Yeah. Yes. It's not my creation, yeah, but it's just, of course, somebody who has made a little bit of thought, huh? So, Templar's cross and the sun symbol and crucifixion and all the stuff, yeah. Chile, for example, also forgotten country, is a country in South America. It is dictatorship ruled by the Jesuits. Any wonder? Any wonder? No. By the way, these are the Falkland Islands. This is Argentina, and these are the Falkland Islands down below. Yeah, and the Britons have an interest in them. Yeah, military interest, and not only this. But history of Chile, you don't have to read the text. You only have to look for the color. Any red color depicts a Jesuit here. Any questions? I don't think so. Everywhere. They are everywhere. Military coup, replacement or coup d'etat on 9/11, 1973. Replaced by Augusto Pinochet, Scottish Rite Mason. No wonder. Jesuits everywhere. Earthquake in Conception. Once again. Masonic media ritual where 33 workers are trapped in a mine. Yeah, you see that there is something to it. Candle 13. This is just a total mess. Everywhere where I look around in South America, of course, they have a Roman background or a Catholic background, actually. I came across that interesting desert here, Atacama Desert. Nobody knows about this, I don't think. The Atacama Desert is the driest non-polar desert in the world and the second driest overall. It is the only true desert to receive less precipitation than polar deserts and the largest fog desert in the world. And now comes the big one. The area has been used as an experimentation site for Mars expedition simulations due to its similarities to the Martian environment. In Chile. Any wonders? You see that nobody looks to Chile, but this is more or less official that they have just searched this desert in Chile because it has similarities to the surface of Mars. Mars.
It looks like those photos they use.
and no wonder that Mars is the Roman god of
war.
That's what I said always, and I said when Elon Musk says they have succeeded in just colonizing Mars or getting to Mars or anybody else or NASA or what else, then that means they are now going to war because Mars is the Roman god of war. That is what the civilization or the exploration or discovery or what else or space flight to Mars, my humble opinion, is all about war. It's the Roman war against anybody. Because you see that when they say that, yeah, we have now discovered Mars or we are just now going to Mars, that means that we are going away from the Earth. So when you just hypothetically think that somebody could colonize or be an inhabitant of Mars, then he does not need the Earth anymore. Huh? So then the Earth is not your friend anymore. Then the new planet or the new Earth would be Mars. Why there is a giant hand in Chile? You see that we can't go into every nitty-gritty, but I found that explanation here quite interesting. This is Wikipedia, huh? Don't get me wrong. I'm not just quoting any strange website. This is just Wikipedia here. Let's proceed. Comparison to Mars, the lack of humidity, rain, and light pollution together produce a dusty, rocky landscape. In the region about 60 miles south of Antofagasta, which averages 3,000 meters in elevation, the soil has been compared to that of Mars. Owing to its otherworldly appearance, the Atacama has been used as a location for filming Mars scenes, most notably in the television series Space Odyssey: Voyage to the Planets. In 2003, a team of researchers published a report in which they duplicated the test used by the Viking 1 and Viking 2. You have to believe it. The region may be unique on Earth, and in this regard it is being used by NASA to test instruments for future Mars missions. And then you know already what they are just planning, I think.
Wow, so this is a kind of esoteric language there, or I should say an esoteric, like a mythological spell they're putting on us, aren't they? Like we're supposed to believe this stuff, like this is really happening, but in reality, it's just an esoteric play.
Just making fun of us.
Yeah, mocking us.
Yeah. You see that in 2008, the Phoenix Mars lander detected perchlorates on the surface of Mars, and you have to believe it. It's called the Phoenix. Yes. Nothing to do with Freemasonry, I guess. I thought it would be best to think about a certain Maria, because Mariah cares. Mariah Carey. What's
Wow, that is a weird picture.
What is that German guy coming up next with? He's totally lunatic. No, you see, the majority of people, look at her left foot. Yeah, you see, that's a very strange picture here. The majority of people, Jesus Christ said, you can't serve God and a mammon. So let's have it as an example with Mariah Carey. She was married to the CEO of Sony, and then she was married to somebody from MTV. And she's just playing around with science. She blinded me with E equals MC square, like your album is. And nothing else we need to know to come to the next big topic, which is the worship of the Queen of All. Coming from a book called Queen of Rome, Queen of Islam, Queen of All. This book is coming from Mr. Tetloff and some other authors. And I know that I have read that book in Germans quite some time ago. And that's the content which will come up in the next session, because we have seen that all these familiar names of Assumption and Conception and all the stuff, they are just pointing the finger to Mariah or Marian worship, when you know that the Catholic Church, as well as the Jesuits, as well as the Military Order of Malta, they all are worshipping Mary. And so it's no wonder that in Latin America, the worship of Mary is just the dominant thing, according to my research at least. And so therefore, I thought it would be best to take this book in English and to just quote from this book, and then just to draw a comparison between the book and the countries in Latin America, because then we will see that, oh my, there is much going on. And of course, they have not been missionaries for real Christianity, but missionaries from the Jesuits, just playing Luciferian dogma disguised in the doctrines of Catholicism. And that would be the next topic, upcoming topic, is the Marian worship of Latin America. So thanks for having me. Thanks for the great contributions of both Hector and Brett, and just handing it over to my beloved brothers in Christ.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, this is really something. When you add up all of the different aspects of modern life and all the deceptions therein, it's kind of staggering, wouldn't you say? Boy.
I think that was 50 sessions in German also. Yeah.
Oh, that you did already on this book.
I did not participate in all of them, but in some of it, and so therefore I know a little bit of this book, and I have looked it up in English for your convenience, of course. So therefore it will be quite interesting to go into this, that you really see how betrayed many people are, and that would also explain many actions of the papacy lately.
All right, Hector, you got anything for us? No. So we'll go ahead.
My mind. Sorry, so many things come to my mind when talking about these two countries. Now that we just recently had those fires in these two countries, Michael was speaking. He spoke Argentina and Chile, and the capital of Argentina, which is Buenos Aires. She's the lady of the good airs that brought the navigators to these areas. Here in the Pope Francis, which is considered in Argentina like the almost compared to God, which is something very blasphemous. And Also, people in this country consider Messi as a messiah sort of thing. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. All the points that he connect. I think it all gives us an idea of what is going to the worship of Mary, which is it's a demon, Lucifer in disguise. Go ahead.
Thanks, Hector. Yeah, this is really going to be interesting to see how this comes together, Michael. I have a copy of the book. Perhaps I should get it out and start studying a little bit. So anyway, thank you very much for your contribution, Hector. And Michael, thank you very much for putting all this together and doing all the video editing, by the way, which I know is very time consuming and laborious. And it's definitely going to be a really interesting study in the future. I'm sure of it. And I hope everyone will come to join us in further sessions. Lord willing, we get there. So that's all for now. God bless. Bye-bye.